You did the right thing. You turned on two-factor authentication. Every account that mattered got a second step, a code, or a tap on your phone. You were told this was the wall, the thing that finally stops the hackers. And one day, someone walked right in anyway. Here's the uncomfortable part. They didn't crack your code. They didn't break the math. They didn't have to. They went around it. You've probably heard the number. Turning on multi-factor authentication blocks more than 99% of attacks on your accounts. That number is real, and it's exactly why you should keep MFA switched on. But read the fine print. The company that published that figure said it was about automated attacks, the bots that spray stolen passwords at millions of logins at once. And they were careful to say the slice left over, that last 0.1%, was something else entirely. Those were the more sophisticated attacks. The ones built to capture your second factor directly. This whole video is about that 0.1%. Because it stopped being a rounding error. If a botnet is knocking on your door, MFA holds. But if a real person decides to come after you specifically, that stat was never the one protecting you. And specifically now includes millions of ordinary people, because the tools to do it got cheap, fast, and automated in their own right. So here's the idea the whole video rests on. Most MFA can prove one thing, that you have a second factor. A code, an app, a tap. What it usually can't prove is the thing that actually matters, that you're standing at the real door, and not a perfect copy of it. Every attack we're about to walk through lives in that exact gap. The factor is real, the door is fake, and the login goes through anyway. Let's start with the freshest evidence we have, so you know this isn't a scare story from a decade ago. Every year, Verizon publishes the biggest study of real-world breaches in the world, the Data Breach Investigations Report. In the 2025 edition, stolen credentials are the starting point in about a fifth of all breaches. And when you look only at attacks on web applications, the everyday logins you actually use, stolen credentials show up in nearly 90% of them. Then comes the line that should stop you cold. That same report says, in plain words, that phishable MFA, the codes, the number prompts, the push approvals, is being bypassed at scale. Its verdict, turning on MFA is not the cure-all it used to be. So how do you get past a second factor without ever breaking it? Sometimes the answer is almost insultingly simple. You just ask. Over and over, until a tired person says yes. Go back to September of 2022. Uber gets breached. And according to Uber's own account of what happened, the attacker already had a contractor's company password. They'd bought it on the dark web, after it leaked off that person's personal device through malware. But the password wasn't enough. There was still that second factor, a push notification. Tap to approve. So the attacker just kept firing it off. Approve, approve, approve. The contractor's phone lit up again and again. And at first, they did exactly the right thing. They ignored it. They said no. So the attacker changed tactics. They messaged the contractor on WhatsApp, pretending to be Uber's IT support, and said the only way to make the endless notification stop was to accept one. So the contractor tapped yes. Just once. And that was the whole breach. From that single approval, the intruder reached internal systems, G Suite, Slack, the tools a company runs on. Now look closely at what did not happen. Nobody defeated the cryptography. The second factor worked exactly as designed. It sent a prompt, and a worn-down human, under social pressure, approved it. This has a name. It's called MFA fatigue, or push bombing. And it's common enough that CISA, the government's cybersecurity agency, lists it as one of the standard ways attackers get around MFA. And it works because of something very human. A push approval is designed to be effortless, one tap, no thinking. That's the whole selling point. But that same effortlessness is the weakness. When your phone buzzes for the 10th time in a meeting, or at 3 in the morning, The easy thing, the thing that makes it stop, is to tap yes. Add a message from someone claiming to be IT, and the pressure only grows. The system did its job perfectly. It asked. The problem is that just to prove it is exactly the reflex the attacker is counting on. The attack was never really against your security. It was against your patience. And patience always runs out first. Fine, you might think. A tap you can be nagged into is weak. But a code, a real number you have to read off an app and type in yourself, surely that's safe. You have to be there. You have to know it. Meet the adversary-in-the-middle attack. And here I'll be quick, because I pulled this one apart step by step in the last video. Link below if you want the full teardown. The short version. The attacker slips a fake page between you and the real site and quietly relays everything to the genuine site in real time. You type your password. You complete a real MFA challenge, because it is real. And the site hands back a session cookie, the little token that says this person already logged in, stop asking. The attacker grabs that token and replays it. But here's the part that actually matters for us, the part about MFA specifically. Think about what got stolen. Not your password, not your code. A receipt, proof that you already passed. Microsoft, which has tracked this closely, says it plainly, this is not a vulnerability in MFA. The math never broke. Your login was genuine. They just walked off with the proof of it, and your second factor came along for the ride, already satisfied. And this is not some rare theoretical trick. One campaign Microsoft described targeted more than 10,000 organizations. In some cases, the follow-on fraud started within about 5 minutes of the cookie being stolen. If that sounds like old news, it isn't. In May of 2026, Microsoft detailed another one, a phishing campaign that proxied live sign-ins and hit tens of thousands of users across thousands of organizations. It sailed straight past text message codes, app codes, and push approvals alike. And notice what the victim experiences through all of this. Nothing. No error, no warning, no access denied. You typed your password on a page that looked right. You approved a login that was real. Everything felt normal, because from your side, everything was. The theft happened to the receipt, not to you. Because every one of those factors depends on the same thing, you noticing that something's fake. And a good enough fake beats anything you can read and retype. There's one more weak factor, and it might be in your hand right now. Your phone number. We were all trained to trust a texted code. And to be fair, it's better than nothing. But your phone number isn't really yours. It's an account at a phone company. And accounts can be moved. This is the SIM swap. An attacker convinces your mobile carrier that they are you, and that your number needs to move to a new SIM card. Carriers do this legitimately every single day. It's how you keep your number when you lose a phone. The abuse is just that same ordinary process, triggered by the wrong person. The moment your number moves, your text messages follow it to their device, including every one-time code that a service dutifully texts over to protect you. They click forgot password, the reset code arrives on their phone instead of yours, and the account is theirs. The second factor you trusted is now working for them, which is why the FBI's guidance is direct. For anything sensitive, use a second factor that isn't SMS. Now some genuinely good news. The reported numbers here are actually falling. US complaints to the FBI dropped to under 1,000 in 2024, with reported losses around $26 million. That's down from a peak of over 70 million just 2 years earlier, most likely because new rules made carriers harder to trick. But don't get too comfortable. SIM swaps are often filed under whatever crime came next, so that number is a floor, not the full story. I made an entire video on how these recovery flow attacks work and how to shut them down. It's linked below. For today, the point is narrow. If your phone number is your second factor, then your second factor is something a stranger can talk a store clerk into handing over. So let's line the three up. A tap you can be nagged into. A code you can be tricked into typing. A number that can be quietly moved. Three different attacks, but one theme runs through all of them. Every one of these factors leans on a human, and a human can be fooled. Which points us straight at the fix. If the weakness is that you can be tricked into approving on the wrong site, then the answer is a login that literally cannot be used on the wrong site. That's phishing-resistant MFA. In everyday terms, passkeys and hardware security keys. They're built on open standards called FIDO2 and WebAuthn, and CISA calls them the gold standard. Here's why they're different. The login is cryptographically bound to the real website's address. When you set up a passkey, your device keeps a secret that never leaves it and ties that secret to the genuine site's true address. So before it will sign you in, your device checks the origin of whoever is asking. If it's not the real address, down to the letter, your device simply won't play. And that one property quietly breaks all three attacks at once. Watch it happen. The fake proxy page has the wrong address, so your device just refuses to sign in. The man in the middle collapses. There's no code to read out, so there's nothing to phish out of you. There's no push to spam, so fatigue has nothing to attack. And none of it touches your phone number, so a SIM swap is simply irrelevant. One change closes every door we just walked through. If you can't move everything over today, do two things. First, turn on passkeys for your most important accounts, starting with your email, since it's the one that unlocks the rest. That's the single highest value place to put a factor that checks the door. Second, where you're still stuck with push approvals, turn on number matching. That's the setting where you have to type a number shown on the login screen into your phone to approve. CISA recommends it as an interim step for a simple reason. You can't blindly approve a prompt you actually have to read. It won't stop a determined proxy attack, but it does defang the push bombing reflex, because now there's nothing to tap without looking. And then do the part everyone forgets. Go turn the weak options off. It doesn't matter how strong your best factor is if a lazy SMS fallback is still sitting there as a backup. An attacker won't fight your passkey. They'll just pick the flimsier option you left enabled and use that instead. So once you've added a strong method, hunt down the weak ones, the old text message codes, the recovery phone number you don't use anymore, and switch them off. Every open fallback is a door you have to defend. And let me be clear, because it matters. This is not MFA is useless. A Microsoft study found that MFA cut the risk of account compromise by more than 99%, and that dedicated authenticator apps beat text messages. Any MFA is dramatically better than none. The message was never turn it off. It's use a stronger kind. Here's the reframe I want to leave you with. For years, we've treated MFA like a finish line. Turn it on, tick the box, you're safe. But look back at every bypass in this video. Not one of them broke the cryptography. The fatigue attack, the relayed cookie, the SIM swap, in all three, the second factor did its job. It confirmed you had a factor. It just couldn't tell that the door you were standing at wasn't the real one. That's the whole trick, and it's the whole fix. Ordinary MFA answers, do you have a key? It can't answer, are you at the right door? And attackers live entirely in that blind spot. The fake page, the spoofed prompt, the number moved to someone else's phone. So the goal was never just have MFA. It's to use the kind of MFA that checks the door, not only the key. So keep MFA on. That part was never the mistake. But take one more step tonight. Move your important logins, starting with email, over to passkeys. Turn off SMS as a second factor wherever a service lets you. Switch on number matching for the approvals you can't replace yet. And go delete the weak fallbacks you forgot you left on. None of this is expensive, and most of it takes an evening. Ordinary MFA proves you're holding a key. Phishing-resistant MFA proves you're standing at the real door. One asks, do you have a factor? The other asks, are you actually here? Aim for the second one. If this changed how you think about that little approve button, subscribe. Every video, we take one confusing security story and explain what's really going on, in plain language. And if you want the other half of this, how attackers reset their way in through recovery flows, watch the video on screen next.